welcome to this week's Trader Talk TV. I'm delighted to welcome Gavin Deadman with us today. Gavin, hello. Gavin is Digital Marketing Manager for PKR. Thanks for coming on today. You've now been client-side for 3 years, ex-agency guy. I think before we get into our whiteboard session, how do you think your perspective on ad technology and your application of it has changed since you made that transition from agency to client-side? Have you noticed any kind of differences and so forth?
Certainly. I would say the biggest USP is the fact that there's a freedom now to choose whatever platform we like based on the best for the business, USPs, price, and we're able just to scope out the whole marketplace for that best platform and also future platforms that come up. Also the different criteria that we might require to meet performance KPIs, such as integrating into our CRM data and just within our DBA team, but
so more focus on that kind of back end understanding and usage versus just how easy is it to use on the front end.
Yeah.
Okay. So you're going to map out for us today what and how an internal trading desk actually operates in the broader remit of a business. So there are now advertisers like yourselves that have developed their own kind of internal trading resource, but I guess there's still a lack of understanding of actually how does it actually interact with different functions in the business, and how do you ensure you have that kind of marketing technology-led integration? So would you be able to whiteboard that for us?
Sure, no problem. So just to confirm, this is based on my last few years of experience. Just start at the top here. So we've just got the CEO. And typically you would have a CEO, but I'm just going to take that out of the mix for now. So I'm going to branch into the three key areas. So we're going to have finance, technology, and then the most key area, which I'm going to focus on mostly, is marketing. Right, so I'm going to split out marketing into the different divisions, including the trading desk, which would obviously fit within marketing. So, Facebook. For the trading desk, it will only be biddable media that the pure focus will be around, and that will cover install ads, page post ads, and the classic ASUs, and also FBX. So then that particular person can focus and optimise campaigns across whether it be right for marketplace or FBX.
And does that include any of your social activity as well, like less performance focused activity?
Yeah, so we've got some guidelines to, so if the social team would like to, without updating page posts, then if we want to get further reach, then we can set up separate buys for that. Also DSP. DSP guy would typically focus on mobile and desktop offerings. It's likely that the best option will have one DSP for desktop and one for mobile until the classic DSPs have caught up. And
this is for anything that's kind of RTB based,
yeah,
biddable,
RTB, yeah,
programmatic,
and typically banner led.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then you've got page search here, and that forms basically the main biddable media areas, really the most important. And the good thing about it being in-house is that you can all discuss, you're sitting around each other, you can discuss how each channel is performing on a daily basis and optimise budget on a daily basis accordingly, rather than every month saying, right, for display you're going to have 100k and your post view target is 5 days for cookie window and 30 days for post click, and giving you your CPA target. Where we base with it's very data driven, and that's where I'm going to come into CTO shortly about how important it is to actually liaise with the data team.
But it means you're able to be a bit more agile, I guess, throughout the throughout any given month, about how where budgets are deployed and
exactly
where the business's focus will be.
Yeah, and there's less chance of wastage as well.
Okay.
Also, what's quite key actually in terms of liaison with other marketing areas, so you've got typically the product managers and they liaise with different promotions that you can add into your copy. You've got the creative team. I would also suggest, for those advertisers that typically outsource the creative, if you're looking to bring the media planning and buying function in-house, then consider creative, because some advertisers pay 5k for a deck of 5 creatives, so there could be a lot of cost savings there in there as well. Also is the CRM email team, which is also extremely important, sharing data and certainly working with each channel on their CRM individual offerings. So as part of the CTO, under there you'd have typically a database team, DBA. So that would be the central hub for all data internally at businesses. Each business might use a different tool. In the past, I've used ClickView, where it basically houses all the data and then just got a visualization tool to view the data. But essentially, what would happen is that role is absolutely key in terms of the training desk and the data team to liaise, because unless you get that resource, this is it's not usable, and all you're optimising on is potentially pixel-based, front-end metrics or click-through rate. So that.
Well, how do you really leverage the wealth of first-party data you have?
Yeah. And so what happens is there's two typical ways of transferring data to the data team and its API or typical FTP. But in terms of resource, I want to touch on this because it is really important. CEO needs to obviously sold into the overall training desk role, and data is a really important part of the overall performance of the channel. So there's absolutely no point approving this sort of offering when there's not going to be any incremental resource on the data side. So it's really important to have one extra person for the data.
Investment's got to be here before it can be really maximised here.
Exactly, and also it could be a case they might need to increase the server power to handle the billions worth of extra lines of data they'll get potentially from display.
And do you see that decision being made by the marketing team or by the technology team? Or is it like a joint collaborative effort to say, making the business case, support the business case to say we need this investment here? And do you see more of it becoming the focus of the marketing function?
Well, what I believe would happen is it'll be a case of the digital marketing manager coming up with their roadmap in terms of what their requirements are for reporting and the actual fees that they're getting, and then once they've given a brief over to the DBA / CTO, then it's their responsibility to scope out whether they need extra firepower, data, what servers they might need, whether their actual existing technology is going to handle that. And then obviously throughout the whole journey, it's essential for the CEO to be involved to avoid it getting clogged somewhere along the channel, because if this is all settled, you don't want to be waiting 2 years to see how campaigns are performing. Yeah. Okay. Cool. So effectively, you've got two streams of data. So you've got the data where it's collecting from the individual channels, cost data, and then also when it's passed to the DBA team, they can build up reports to give you forecast, projected CPAs, and ROI, effectively based on time-lapse conversions, data, and reverse engineering that in order to get the reports that the individual team require in order to optimise campaigns on a daily basis and also within each channel.
So if there's an optimisation element of this kind of analysis team, which is providing you with a fuel to refine your marketing strategy on a daily basis, but then there's maybe an insight remit, which is providing, I guess, insights on the business performance up to these levels here.
Yeah, so in terms of the finance team, they would typically have someone in accounts that will be paying the actual invoices as well, in terms of the actual supply invoices. So they might need one person sitting there as well, but they would typically manage the profit and loss of the business. The marketing team, because it's all in-house and focused so much around costs, I believe they should be fully focused on overall marketing costs. That's including offline costs with the agencies, creative costs coming out outside of marketing, CRM costs, and actual media costs. working out the daily CPAs on that and the actual performance, and then that feeds into the finance team.
Yeah.
And so then you can work together on that.
And I guess that's what you were mentioning around having this evolution of dashboard solutions or some form of business intelligence solution which enables them all to have this kind of data at their fingertips.
Exactly. Yeah, because without this, you're going to have to log into various different systems to view one thing, which could take hours. And each department's going to be looking at potentially different data. And then what would typically happen is cost spiral. There's no aggregation of costs, and then that results in huge amounts of wastage because you don't know where your costs are going. Right. So it's absolutely essential for these, this trading desk to manage all the costs and optimise all the campaigns on that, and communicate.
Okay. So I guess this is kind of how your business operating today. Different companies are going to have different kind of operational functions and so forth, but in terms of making that transition to bring more of this kind of execution in-house, what do you think are some of the pros and cons of that?
Okay, so a few pros are, I would say, when it comes to costs, so it's managing costs and cutting waste. So, for example, if you did have previously a digital agency or traditional agency managing your digital marketing activity, then it could be a case you're paying over the odds for ad serving. So straight away, I've experienced across a few clients over the last few years where I've made savings of around 70% on traditional ad serving alone, and video serving of around 80%. So
you mean like just having that more transparent relationship with the end vendor?
Exactly, yeah. And also when it comes to the DSPs and the actual platforms, all of it's signed, all of it's done in-house. So you know exactly what you're paying, what fees you're paying, and there's not going to be extra margins that's hidden on the invoices or hidden potentially in certain systems. I'm not saying that all agencies are like this, but it just having it in-house results in that peace of mind. And so they're the biggest pros in terms of optimising it. And I'm not saying that agencies should be completely pulled out of all marketing activity. I'm suggesting here that no matter what size of business, whether it's O2, Sky, they're not big enough. There's always an element that you can take the digital performance marketing in-house, and it is fairly easy.
So you're not saying there's a certain type of client that's too big or too small. Yeah, there's always a degree of.
There's no client big or small that should avoid that should put you off taking it in-house. But the role, I think, for the agency has changed, and I think they should be more focused on offline activity, the econometrics model, and potentially as well looking at partnerships and branding online, where they will have the element of negotiating power, because now it's all biddable. Actually, you can't, no matter how many times you pick up the phone to Facebook or Google and shout that you want cheaper rates, they're not going to give you cheaper rates because it's all biddable media. So,
but do you think there's like a role as well for those type of service providers, whether it's an agency or the more traditional kind of consultancy type practices, whether it's an Accenture or Sapient, Nitro or Cognizant, that there's a role for them to play in terms of actually helping clients architect how this works and what it looks like. So, we're not just talking about a trading desk, which was just typically a guy sitting in front of the DSP. We're actually talking about architecting a business around marketing technology. Do you think there's a role for for a next generation of agency to come in and say, okay, PKR, we're going to help you architect how this connects into your CIO and CTO, how it connects into your marketing piece, how it then connects into the financial operations. Do you think there's like a role for that, or do you mean?
Yeah, I agree. I certainly think that a lot of brands out there will need help devising that whole business structure about where it fits in and the communication. So they certainly need consultants to manage that for them. So that, because there's only a certain amount of digital marketing managers that can come in and actually manage it themselves. So yeah, I think that is an option.
And do you see like the digital marketing manager's role changing over time as well? So rather than just coordinating, how do we spend money in search, affiliates, email, trading desks, Facebook, but becoming that kind of bridge into technology piece of the business, the bridge into the financial operations, and the bridge to the kind of CEO and senior management? Do you think there's that role is becoming less just focused on execution, but actually becoming more strategic around usage of technology and product development and so forth?
I think it will be a combination. So I think now, because it'll be the bidder media options will be in-house, they'll have the confidence to actually let the guys on the front line manage all the campaigns for them.
Yep.
And because they're just dealing with one client rather than multiple clients, they'll be on the ball, you know,
Yep.
every day, every week. So they'll have things covered, so that letting the digital marketing manager focus on more structural and
Yep.
integrated opportunities within the business, and looking at other opportunities and other channels as they progress.
Okay. Well, thanks for coming in today. Thanks for tuning in to this week's Trade Talk TV, and see you next week.